Hello and welcome back to the Pride of All Europe podcast brought to you by All for United. It's a bit of a special episode today, I think it's fair to say. 55 years in the making. England have finally made a final. I'm not sure I was taking us this long, but we're here regardless. I think we're going to struggle to do the size of the occasion justice because I think we're all feeling a bit worse for wear this morning. But got a brilliant panel of guests joining me. So, boys, how you doing?
Not bad. Good.
Lovely
amazing
stuff.
Today. Absolutely amazing today.
Yeah, the adrenaline's sort of worn off. We can consider, well, we can sort of considerably talk about it now. But yeah, we start from the start. Charlie, how are you feeling? We're in a final.
Yeah, very, very happy, James. Obviously, for my generation, it might not mean so much as as it does for the generation above, because obviously I've experienced obviously the Lampard incident against Germany, and I experienced the 2016 Euros with Iceland and the 2018 the World Cup. But I obviously can't remember too much further back. Obviously, I've watched England. I've watched all the 66 Euro 96 as well. I've watched a lot of the England games in the past, but obviously I wasn't there. I wasn't alive at that point, so it might not mean quite as much this for me in terms of obviously the heartache that probably Neil and Stu, being the next generation up, will probably relate to it more, or probably feel more, as my mom does this morning. She said to me, obviously she's in her 50s, and she said, this is unbelievable. And I said, well, I know, but I think it means a lot more to her because of what we've been through. England in the past, but still for me it's fantastic, absolutely fantastic. The game was when we went 1-0 down, I just fancied Damsgaard to score that free kick. I don't know why. I just fancied him when he went up, when he was going up for the ball, and I think it took a slight deflection and swerved over, and it was difficult for Pickford to deal with. But yeah, fantastic to get back in the game. Obviously Saka putting the ball across in an own goal, and then it ends up going to extra time. We get obviously the penalty. Obviously we had a few chats, I think, on the contributors chat, didn't we, last night, about whether they were penalties or not. We'll obviously talk about that in a minute, but we don't really care at this point, do we? Because let's be honest, England have had their fair share of bad refereeing decisions in the past, so I think we deserve this one, to be honest with you. Although we did get lucky with a very poor penalty from Kane, but who cares at the end of the day? We're in the final, and we've got a fantastic chance in the final. Obviously, Italy, 33 games unbeaten, but what really stood out for me, what I realised this morning when I was actually thinking about the final on Sunday, was Italy needed extra time to get past Austria. They scraped past Belgium, and they needed penalties to get past Spain. And that gives me a lot of confidence for Sunday. It really does. Because I think England throughout the tournament have shown more than Austria, Belgium and Spain have. And I think we've got a fantastic chance on Sunday. Fantastic to get to the final, as I said before. It means a lot to me, but it will mean even more, I bet, to Neil and Stu as well, as they've experienced more heartache in the past years gone by, and they've probably lived through that, those moments, and they've experienced those moments live, which I haven't. But yeah, fantastic. We're in a final. It's at Wembley. It's against an Italian side, 30 odd games unbeaten. It's a fantastic occasion. Brilliant, really incredible. This game is just, I don't think anybody would have predicted England and Italy final before the Euros started. I think lots of people wouldn't even have Italy and England in the final, not even one of the teams. I think people would have said something like France and Portugal, France and somebody else, or whoever. But yeah, fantastic. But now let's go and win this final. We need to go and win this now. We need to cap this off. We need to show some spirit. We need to show some experience. We need to. I saw somebody, I can't remember who, I think it was Jack Whitehall. I think I was watching the show last night on TV. Jack Whitehall said we need to out shithousery the shithousery, as he said, the Italians. And I think that's what England are going to have to do, that we're going to have to be very, very smart and cute on Sunday. But fantastic to get there.
Absolutely. Well, I'll come to you, Neil. Obviously, 55 years since we reached a final. There's absolutely no chance you were even alive on that date. So, how much does this mean to you as sort of someone who's experienced a lot of disappointment in these tournaments?
It's massive. I was thinking last night. I'm actually going to see England in a final at a major tournament, and it's quite spectacular to think that. So I don't care about whether people think it's a penalty or not, because if you went out and bought a newspaper today, it'll say penalty in the newspaper, and that's all I give a damn about. I don't care anything like that. All I care about is we got to the final. I agree with Charlie's point when I think about the way Italy have got to the final. My only concern about this England team now is the amount of nervous energy and the amount of pressure that the country's now going to put on them, because now they've got to a final. And the nervous energy that the players how much has last night took out of them? I just want to see how well they can recover and sort of build themselves back up, because last night was enormous. And the further we sort of get away from it, the bigger I think the achievement was of last night. And I'm a proud Englishman today. I've always been a proud Englishman, but today I've got a swollen eye. God knows what's going on there. But I'm very, very proud of that team and what they've achieved. And this could be very special. I remember 1990 and the disappointment of losing to the Germans in penalties. So this sort of makes up for that. And 1990 was a big one to try and get over.
Yeah, absolutely. Still, I'll ask you the same sort of question. Obviously, you've experienced a fair amount of disappointment. So how good is it to finally get over that semi-final hurdle?
I guess when you get to my age, you haven't missed out on a lot when it comes to football. You've seen most things. But I never actually thought I would ever see an England team make a final of a major championship. My very first memory of a major championship was Argentina 78, the World Cup. And I've always been jealous of countries getting through to finals and never being able to experience it, and wondering what it would actually feel like to watch your team in a final. And I'm not quite sure how I'm going to feel Sunday. Like Neil and like Charlie, immensely proud to be English this morning. Although, I am any day of the week. But today, to see a group of men come together like we haven't really done this since '66. We haven't come together as a collective unit. England in the past has always been splattered with egos. The golden generation full of egos, and this team, they seem devoid of egos, apart from Phil Foden. They all seem devoid of egos, really. They seem quite humble, and I think that's what you need moving forward. I do have a bit of a worry about nervous energy on Sunday, or what it's going to, how the country's going to react between now and Sunday, and how much pressure the media is going to put on them, put on the team, because they're going to want to talk to them and that. Gareth Southgate will have his media duties and the team will have his media duties, but I would shield the team as much as I can from the outside world between now and Sunday, regroup and go back into the bubble. And try and stay away from the euphoria that the country is now going to be feeling between now and Sunday evening. Everybody will be waking up this morning talking about it last night. Where are we watching it on Sunday? Who's doing this? Who's doing that? Let's get round to this pub, etc. Get your tables booked, all this. So the whole country's wrapped up in that euphoria. And the team themselves have got to step away from that. They've got to get back to basics. Southgate and his coaching staff have got to decide what they're going to do. I think Sunday, for me, I'd bring in Henderson. I think you're going to need that kind of experience. I don't rate Henderson, as you all know. I was quite vocal about it yesterday. But I think come Sunday, you're going to need a different type of player in there. If you look at the Spanish, they utilised Koke to nullify Verratti, and he did it exceptionally well. And I think we're going to need something along those lines to nullify the Italian midfield. But I'm trying to remain calm. I'm kind of got mixed emotions. I was running around like Cal, like a bit of an idiot last night, like everybody else. But you know what? Football does that to you. It brings you all together, and it's surreal right now. I just hope we do ourselves justice, and I hope the media step away as much as they possibly can outside the normal media duties and give the England squad that breathing space they're desperately going to need between now and Sunday.
Yeah, I can't help but agree with everything you said there, really. I'll come to you, Charlie, before we talk about the game itself. It's a good question by Joe, so I'll sort of pose it to you. Is it a concern that all the majority of the team have lost major finals in club football recently, or do you think that will rejuvenate them? Now, it's a good point. Obviously, there's a lot of Man City players in there. There's a lot of United players in there, both suffering final disappointment. But then you look at the Italian squad. You've got Chiellini and Bonucci, who have lost at least one Champions League final with Juventus. You've got Verratti in that midfield, who's lost a Champions League final with PSG. And then you've got a lot of other players who haven't been to those sort of I want to say events. That's not the right word for it, but you know what I mean. That sort of occasion. There we go. So, do you think it'll have an effect, or do you think it works both ways in terms of the Italians being in a similar boat?
No, I think the way that Gareth Southgate has sort of managed his squad sort of proves that won't be a problem. I think you had obviously Manchester City and Chelsea players who have gone against each other in the Champions League final. I know Ben Chilwell hasn't obviously been involved much at all, but you've got Mason Mount in there, and then you've got obviously Kyle Walker, you've got John Stones, Raheem Sterling. You've got a mix of this Man City, Chelsea groups that you've got to make sure that they get on one in the group, and they're obviously some of the players have lost and some of them have won. And Gareth Southgate's obviously, you can see the bond that they've got between them. He's obviously managed that very well. And then of course you've got Luke Shaw. We sort of know what the team's going to be for Sunday. It's Shaw and Maguire will 99.9% start as long as they're not injured. So Shaw and Maguire will start. Obviously Rashford won't. So obviously they've lost the Europa League final. But I don't think it makes that much difference at all. I think that this is a totally different competition. International football is a totally different ballgame to club football. These players are... Oh, yeah, sorry, Boxer's made a good point, actually. Harry Maguire didn't play in the Europa League final. That's a very good point. I apologise for that. That was a bad mistake by me. But obviously Maguire was involved. He will still feel that loss, although he didn't start that game. But I don't think it'll make too much of a difference. I do have a few worries for Sunday. One of them is Jordan Pickford. I said before, that free kick last night, I think it was very, very difficult to save, but his kicking throughout the game was extremely poor, I thought. He was very rash. He was kicking the ball out. And another worry I have is the midfield. I agree with Stu. I think we have to go with Phillips, Henderson or Bellingham and Mount as a midfield three. I just don't see how Rice and Phillips can manage this Italian midfield. I don't think it's going to work. But yeah, in terms of this group togetherness, I don't think you can question that. One thing I would question is there anybody in this England squad that has the sort of nous that Chiellini and Bonucci have? And that would be a worry. No one doubts Harry Kane is a fantastic striker. Nobody doubts that, Harry Maguire is a very, very good centre-half. No one doubts Luke Shaw, at the moment, is performing as the best left-back in the world. And he's been the best left-back in the world this season. No one's doubting that. I think even rival fans are now accepting how good Luke Shaw has been. But what I doubt, and what I think the lads on the panel might doubt as well, is just that sort of experience in those key moments. And I think Chiellini and Bonucci might just have that over us. So I think we've got to be very, very careful on Sunday. I personally think Sunday, I do not see how Sunday's game doesn't go to extra time and penalties. I think it will go to extra time 100%. I just don't see how England win against Italy in 90 minutes, and I don't see how Italy finish off England. I think it's going to be another one of these tight games, like the semi-final. Both semi-finals obviously 1-1, weren't they? Going into extra time. So I think it'll be the same. I think it'll probably be 1-1 going into extra time on Sunday as well. But yeah, of course it is a worry, Joe. You've got a lot of players in there who've lost finals recently, and of course that is a worry. But you've got to also realise you've got Manchester City players in there who have won. They won the title three in the last 4 years or something. Manchester City. So you've got very good winners in there. You look at the way John Stones, particularly I think Stones and Luke Shaw, the way they've turned their careers around has been quite remarkable. John Stones was. We all know John Stones. We all knew that John Stones was a good footballer. But he was just making that many mistakes time and time again. And you cannot start for Manchester City and win titles if you're going to make those mistakes. And the way he's turned his career around, fantastic. And Luke Shaw, Jose Mourinho obviously tried to get the best out of him, but Luke Shaw wasn't that type of player. And we found that out. And he's obviously had the injuries over time. But the way that Luke Shaw's turned I'm not going to say turn his career around, because he still needs to keep this consistency going. He's had a very, very good season, but the way he's turned his fortunes around and the form he showed has been incredible. And those two players in particular, along with Maguire, after the incident in Greece and the amount of the sort of stigma around the 80 million fee, the way that Maguire's handled that, I think you can see a lot of mental strength in this England side. I really do. And you've got Harry Kane, a player who no one doubts his ability, but he's been questioned. Why is he still at Spurs if he wants? Why is he still there? He hasn't won anything. Sunday's game is time. I think out of any England player, Harry Kane needs to show who he really is. This is his chance to win a trophy, a big, big trophy. And I think for Harry Kane, this is his sort of time. For me, he's still on that world-class boundary. I think to be world class, I think you have to really, really show it in a final. And I don't think he's quite done that yet. For me, I think he's a world class striker, but to be regarded as one of the best, you have to win team honours as well, I think, as individual honours. And I think for him on Sunday, Harry Kane, I think that is his chance to make his mark. And last night, I think he got a little bit fortunate with that penalty. It was an awful penalty. I think we'll probably talk a bit in a minute about the laser incident. I don't know if anyone's seen about the lasers that were used in the game yesterday, but in terms of the squad, Joe, I don't think it will make a difference. I think there's a lot of mental strength in this England team, and I think it showed throughout. One more point, Raheem Sterling, the way he's been treated by the media for the last few years has been frankly awful. Raheem Sterling, the amount of racism in particularly by the Sun and the British media, and the way he's responded to that. He's had quite a poor season with Man City, and look how he's performing now. So everybody seems to be the mental strength of this England squad is quite remarkable, but they've got one more game to get through, and let's hope they can get through it.
It was quite a monologue there, wasn't it? I think we'll just give you your own show next time. Yeah.
There's nothing wrong with Charlie's throat today, is there? Bloody hell.
No. Definitely not.
And breathe. And breathe, Charlie. And breathe.
There's a lot of good points that you were raising there. But we'll switch back to the game. It was a good answer to Joe's question. I don't think we need to go any further on it. I think you've covered everything you could possibly cover on that, to be fair. Back to the game, Neil. I think that the worry coming into this game was England hadn't conceded. How would they react to conceding a goal, maybe going behind? Did they have the strength to get back from that? Obviously, Denmark took the lead. Deserved or not, they went ahead, and we answered back within 8 minutes. How impressed were you with the response to that goal?
We seemed to sort of up our game, didn't we? I mean, it was like we were proper annoyed about going behind, and we just went, right, okay, let's get this back to even Steven as quick as we can. And I was really impressed with the response. Sometimes teams can go into the shell, and it sort of shocks the system, but it shocked our system in a sort of positive way. And it's hang on, here we go from Joe. Joe's, I think I paid near it seems the best 11 in the no, but we might have the best 11, Joe, but we've got the best squad. We've got the deepest squad, I think. I know Joe's bitter because it's not Ireland, but I'm sure there's a GAA game on, Joe, that you can watch on Sunday, because obviously that's a hell of a sport to watch. Just a load of farmers knocking 7 bells out of each other. But anyway, moving on to the real sport. No, I thought we responded terrifically well, and it was quite nice. It was quite good to see that we didn't sort of shrink in the moment. We went for it and really got at them. Apologies about the farmers gag, Joe, but it's a mental sport, that GAA stuff. Oh, absolute crackpots. Anyway, I don't worry about the world class thing that Charlie mentioned about Kane. I think he's a world class striker. I suppose the Spurs fans hope that England win, because then that might convince him to stay at Spurs a bit. I don't know, but I do think he's a world class striker, and I think it's big for him to try and occupy both Bonucci and Chiellini on Sunday, and I imagine one or both of them is going to try and kick lumps out of him.
Yeah, it's definitely going to be an interesting battle. But I'll pose a similar question to you then, Stu. The response that we had that was so good to going behind, does that give you confidence going into the final that we do have that mental strength with us, that even if things aren't going our way, we can still turn things around?
Yeah, I mean, in football, I guess in any team sport, really, in any walk of life, if you have a bit of a setback, a knockback or whatever, then it really will show your character, your inner strength will either shine through or you'll shrivel up like a flower. And it tends to go either way. And I think yesterday, after about 10, 15 minutes, we became slightly devoid of ideas. And I think Charlie summed up the goal well. The free kick was superbly taken. I'm not a goalkeeper. But it looked to me like Pickford didn't have a chance, really. So from that point of view, it's what happens. And I at that point wasn't necessarily thinking about, oh, here we go again. We're never going to go back into this game, because we'd showed enough spirit and determination at the beginning of the match to drag us back into it. So I think from that point of view, I think it was great to see. But you got some hard-working players in there. Maguire, for example. It's the first time I've really seen him. And we all know he's a leader, but he's what I would call a quiet leader. I think yesterday he was bellowing instructions, which is quite rare to see, really. Carl Walker, I've never been a fan of his, but I can't help but admire his game at the moment. The way that his is defending, his speed, his positional play. It was there last night. My worry is, and I did say it during the game on Twitter, that the old I keep wanting to say rice and peas rather than rice and Phillips. I don't quite know why, but anyway, the old Rice and Phillips combination. I don't expect that to work. Verratti is just way too cute for Rice, so we are going to need some kind of experience in there. I think Neil makes a really good point about how Kane's going to face up against Bonucci and Chiellini. For me, we mentioned it on yesterday's show, if you look at the Chiellini, who's been there, seen it, done it, it's just another game for him. He won't care. And same with Bonucci. None of that will bother him. It won't. Verratti won't bother him. Won't bother Immobile. Won't bother most of their first 11, to be honest, because they've been there. Most of them have been it, seen it, done it, or they've been around players like Chiellini, like Bonucci, who have been there at the highest level, at the highest stage, won the major tournaments, so they know how to act in tournament football. And I think that could well give Italy a slight mental edge. But as I said on my previous statement, if Southgate can now shield the players, get them out of the spotlight again for the next 2 or 3 days, get them back to basics, rest day today, and then tomorrow getting them back to basics in terms of hard work on the training grounds. And he picks the right 11. I think it's really important he picks the right 11. Which is, I know that sounds a bit stupid because, that's what you need to do. But sometimes managers don't pick the right 11, and that's the beauty of football. But if he picks the right 11 from the outset, we've got a really, really good chance of dragging ourselves over the line on Sunday. But in terms of character, absolutely, yeah, you can't fault the lads, really. I have to say that.
So Stu, sorry to interrupt. Stu, what do you think is the right 11 then? What changes would you make? What do you think?
Yeah, I don't know whether I would go a 4-4-2 actually. Although that's my favourite formation. Nobody plays a 4-4-2 anyway. But I'd probably play 4 at the back. I'd go with Walker. Mm-hmm. I'd go with Shaw, obviously, Maguire and Stones. I guess I'd go with Henderson for definite. Yeah. I'd perhaps put Phillips in there and Bellingham. I'd go with Jude Bellingham. And then up the front three, if that's what you want to call them. It depends how he does it, but say the front three. For me, you've got to play Sterling. Sterling's actually, as Neil says, has become a no-brainer. Kane, and I'm torn really between Saka and Sancho, and I don't know what the lads' thoughts are about Saka. I thought he was okay in patches, but I didn't think he really delivered a lot. And so I think I might start Sancho because I think we're going to need. They haven't got Spinazzola, remember, and I don't think Emerson can defend. He can go forward. There's absolutely no two ways about it, as we saw on Tuesday. But I don't think he's great defensively, and so I think I would start Sancho to run at Emerson. That would be my 11.
Well, listen, you brought me on nicely because I was just about to ask you, Charlie, about Saka. Obviously, he set up England's first goal, really, didn't he? I think he did look bright in patches, but there was a lot of controversy going into the game about the fact that he did start after. I think Jadon Sancho had a good game against Ukraine as well. I don't think he deserved to be dropped by any means. Do you think he justified his inclusion in this 11?
Well, I think the reason why Sancho started against Ukraine is because Gareth Southgate knew that he wasn't going to have to do too much back the way defensively. And I think Bukayo Saka, I think the key for this game against the Italians, I think Belgium have shown it and Spain have showed it. You can cause this Italian team problems one-on-one defensively. I think that's where they're weak. I think both the fullbacks and the two centre-halves, Chiellini and Bonucci, fantastic positional play. But if you've got somebody, if you've got Sterling or Saka running at them, that will cause them problems. And I know we've said before, pace isn't everything in football, and the modern game focuses a lot on pace. And, positional play is obviously, for a centre-half, is the most important thing. But pace can cause them problems. And it's shown, Doku won the penalty for Belgium. I think it was Di Lorenzo. I can't remember who exactly fouled the Belgian player. It wasn't even a penalty, but it was given as a... Was it? Yeah.
Just on that quickly, Charlie, you're absolutely right about pace and positional play. But what you'll find Italy do really, really well is Bonucci and Chiellini drop back slightly. And you'll see Donnarumma, rather than being on his line, he's more in between the penalty spot and his 6-yard line. So they cover. That's what they do to try and cover spinners in behind them.
Yeah, I think if you get Sterling and Saka out wide, not even in behind, I'm just thinking, running one-on-one against Emerson, as you rightly said, Stu, not very good defensively, I don't think. And against Di Lorenzo, if you get Sterling and Saka running at those, I think that will cause a big problem. So I would go with the same keeper and back four as last night. I'd go with Phillips, Henderson and Mount in midfield, and I would go with Sterling, Saka and Kane. Grealish is a bit of a strange one. Jack Grealish, in my opinion, is England's best. I think Jack Grealish is England's most talented. He's got the most ability out of any England player, I think. And he probably should be the first name on the team sheet. But in Gareth Southgate's system...
What do you say? Foden?
Yeah, Grealish is a better player than Foden. Yeah, I
God,
think so.
no.
I think his leadership ability, everything as a footballer, I think Grealish is better. But the thing is, with Gareth Southgate's system in that 10 position, you have to work and you have to work back and you have to have discipline, and that's why he starts Mount. I thought bringing Foden on last night was the wrong decision. I thought it was more of a Rashford or Sancho game, sort of against this tired defence. And Phil Foden, he's a very talented player, but I think Jack Grealish is. I just think Jack Grealish is honestly the most talented England player. I really do.
Yeah, I mean, I'll come to you with that, Neil. I know you had a few words about Grealish before the show, so what are your thoughts on that?
Well, quickly, my 11 would be the same back four. I'd go Henderson, Rice, Phillips, Sancho, Kane, Sterling. So I'd sort of 4-3-3, but three midfield and just go let the front three just go and do their stuff. But anyway, on the Grealish thing, as you know, I'm not his biggest fan. I wouldn't mind going to one of his parties though, because they seem great fun. I tell you what, if England win and you got Kyle Walker and Jack Grealish organising the party, that's going to last months. That's a ticket you want. Never mind one to the final, you want one to the party if them two are organising it, because that would be fun. I thought Grealish halved his transfer value last night. He, got subbed on and subbed off. As we said before the show, he clearly wasn't very happy about it. When I watched, I think Foden's the most talented player in the squad by a distance. He played a couple of balls last night at Foden, which was just magnificent. And he has got an amazing first touch. He's got this ability to take a touch and it's immediately out of his feet. And then his second touch. I was quite surprised he brought Foden on. I thought he was going to go with a bit more pace.
Yeah.
But, I think it's chalk and cheese. As you know, I'm not the biggest fan of Jack Grealish. And, performances last night means I bet the Villa fans were quite happy because there's half a chance he might stay now. He's very stop-start to me, Grealish. I know he wins more fouls and all that sort of stuff, but that does stop the play. It does. It's quite staggered then, the play, because as soon as Grealish gets the ball, you expect him to win a foul. That's the expectation he seems to have. Not that he's going to do something. What he's actually going to do is win a foul, and then we've got a dead ball situation. So that it's not such free-flowing football, in my opinion. I'm probably going to get slaughtered now for this, but in my opinion, I don't think it's as free-flowing football as I'd want from the team.
So bold, Chloe. Who would you have in there over Grealish? Do you think Saka has done more? Yeah, Foden. Fair enough. See, I've not been.
I'd have Sancho. If I played the front three, I'd actually have Sancho, because you've got enough covering behind. If you played the three sort of so-called defensive midfielders, I agree with the Henderson thing. I'm not, as you know, I'm not a massive fan of him, but his experience and his nous.
It's going to be important, isn't it?
The spine of the team then looks very strong. You got Maguire, Stones, Henderson, Kane. Suddenly the spine looks a lot stronger than the spine did last night. But I think Phillips and Rice have played well enough during the tournament. They deserve a shout at the final. I wasn't impressed with Mount. I didn't think Mount.
No, I wasn't. I was about to say that. I didn't think Mount covered himself in glory.
I had a feeling that Mount has got an A4 envelope with some dodgy photos of Southgate, and he keeps flicking the corner of it every time he looks like he might be brought off. It's a tough one, because in some respects you've got to respect the Italians and the way they play. So I think we might have to change the team to beat them.
100%. Talking about Grealish and Foden, actually, while we're all talking about those two, there's absolutely no doubt in Foden's ability as a footballer. Absolutely no doubt in that. But he's got to this position now where he's believing his own press, his own hype. And Neil, you'll know that we've seen multitude of players have shown a great deal of promise in the past. You're talking about Danny Canamatari at Everton, if you remember, when he was playing. Where is he now? Started believing his press. You got Jermaine.
He's clearly more windows, I think.
Yeah, well, he probably is. You got Jermaine Pennant, just to name a couple there. And Foden's got to be very, very, very careful. He doesn't let this sudden rise affect him. And I actually think it has. I think it's affected him.
Wouldn't you say the same about Grealish with the incidents he's had on the pitch?
Well, I was about to come on to Grealish. Yeah, again, when you look at Grealish, exceptionally talented. And I think the problem with Grealish now is he's probably wondering, I think, Neil, you make a really good point. He's probably wondering where he's at in his life, because to go onto a pitch and then to come off the pitch, I know tactically Southgate had to do something, and I know he did it under the radar as well. Not many people noticed it, but I don't know what you do with Grealish now. Actually, I don't know what Southgate's saying to Grealish about where you fit into the squad. I don't know what everyone's thoughts are on that, but I think that's a real problem. But with Foden, just going back to Foden quickly, although he is a world-class talent, I think Guardiola is going to have to get hold of him, a bit like we've done with Greenwood, when Greenwood had that issue in Iceland. I think Guardiola is going to have to get hold of him and shake him up a bit, really. But whether or not he will or not, but you know the dangers of young players, Neil. You've seen it, mate. You've seen it. Probably Charlie, not so much about the players I'm talking about, but these players like Pennant. Pennant had the world at his feet, didn't he, Neil, when he was 16, 17?
Yeah.
He was tremendous. Scott Parker was the same. He was tremendous. We've had a couple of players, Makeda, really good, solid players.
Yeah.
Cadamarteri, brilliant for Everton, absolutely brilliant for Everton. Start believing their own press, start hitting the high live, start dyeing their hair blonde or whatever.
I wish I could do that.
Are you going to dye your hair blonde if we win, Stu?
No fucking chance.
I'll do mine.
No, and that's the problem. You shouldn't be doing that. You don't do that when you're playing for your country. You don't do that. Did you remember, Neil? Do you remember was it the '94 World Cup when the Romanians?
Yeah, that was to confuse the opposition, wasn't it, or something?
Well, supposedly, yeah, because
crazy sort of theory, dye your hair blonde to confuse the opposition.
Yeah, yellow tops, wasn't it? In yellow,
yeah.
I don't know. That's the problem with modern day football. And Neil, remember this? Fergie once famously made Beckham shave his mohawk off before a match, literally before a match, because you don't do that. You're there to represent us as a country. They're representing every single one of us that's watching, listening, contributing, and they've got to do it right. And I think Foden will be wondering where his England career path is going to turn out, but Grealish definitely, which is a shame because they're very talented.
Are you worried then, Stu, that there's becoming too many individuals in this team?
Not yet.
Not yet. And I think Southgate, and I think we should come on and praise Southgate's man management, really, where we are today. I think Southgate won't allow that. I think he saw it with Foden and he took him out of the equation. And this is the first time we've seen him in 3 matches, is it? Am I right in saying that? 3 matches?
Yeah, I think so.
He was rested, wasn't he? Because he had he was on a yellow card or something, wasn't he? So I think the last group game he wasn't taken out.
I think it was the excuse Southgate was looking for, to be honest. I think he was looking for that. Yeah. But even so, if he was that integral to our squad, he'd have been back in, wouldn't he?
Mm.
And you know how football works. If you're integral to the squad, you're in. That's what happens. So I think Southgate's got a number on the egos. I don't think there is any. Sorry, Neil. Go on, buddy.
But you'd say the same about Grealish, wouldn't you? If he was integral, he wouldn't have brought him off.
Exactly right. Yeah.
I think he's got a bigger problem with Grealish than he's ever going to get with Foden now.
I think Foden's had his wings clipped, and I think
I think Foden's. I mean, you look at Foden under. We go back to Man City, and I think Guardiola's handled him really well.
Exactly.
Guardiola might tell him to sort his barnet out. But, I wish I could dye my hair, so I don't really care what colour his hair is. But I'd have Foden above Grealish. No doubt about it.
There's no debating their talents, and I'm not really talking about their talents because their talents are. But
No.
And this is why I don't.
But I'm talking about the headspace as well.
Yes, that's right.
Thinking about the headspace, I'd still have Foden.
And this is why I don't feel there's that many egos in the squad, because I don't think Southgate allows it, and I don't think Henderson would allow it. We talk about these types of players. Look at John Stones. Actually, Charlie made a brilliant point earlier. John Stones has completely resurrected his career like Luke Shaw, and that is knuckling down, hard work. And Greenwood is just starting to do that. We're just starting to see that now with Mason Greenwood, knuckling down and hard work. And I think we've managed to sort Mason Greenwood out, because I was a bit worried about his headspace earlier on in the season, and believing his own hype, and he seems to have got that together. So I think it'd be really, really interesting moving forward what you see with the likes of Grealish and the likes of Foden, and whether they can come out of it, by themselves. But sorry to change it about, but I thought it was quite an important point.
Yeah, absolutely. I think it's good that we've got the like you said, the figures in the squad to keep these young players grounded as well. Maguire's really stepped up. He's not captain, but I think he is the leader out there by the looks of it. And you've got Jordan Henderson behind the scenes. It goes without saying. Harry Kane as well was really surprised me with how much of a leader he is. So I think we have got a really nice balance of that sort of raw youth and that sort of humbled maturity in the squad as well. And I think it's
raw
doing
youth.
really well.
That's a really good analogy, phrase, whatever you want to call it. Raw youth.
I like it. They sound like a metal band from Sweden.
Charlie's raw youth, you see. Speaks from here, raw youth.
That's the plan. We'll all dye our hair blonde.
In 2 weeks, kids.
We'll all dye our hair blonde and start a band, Raw Youth. But I just wanted to finish up on the game itself, because obviously there was another goal to talk about. The goal itself, missed penalty, scored a rebound, fair play to him. But the talking point is the penalty decision. I'll come to you first, Charlie. It's very, very contentious. Was it a penalty?
I've watched a lot of the videos back. There were 2 touches onto Sterling's leg, and in the modern game, that is probably a penalty. You've seen it given before. I don't think you can overturn that decision. I don't think that's a clear and obvious error. So I think they made the correct decision, VAR. The one with Harry Kane, the one at the other end was a penalty shot, was interesting as well. I think that could have gone either way. I really do. Two really difficult calls, I think. But I think because of the modern game, the way it's going, we've seen those given before, the Sterling one. There was I've seen the videos about there's 2 clear touches of contact. I know I don't want to see that given as a penalty in terms of the way the modern game's going. I don't like it. I don't like it at all. But it was soft. But I think the VAR made the correct call. I don't think it was a clear and obvious error. It wasn't clearly and obviously not a penalty, but it wasn't clearly and obviously a penalty. But I don't know whether anyone else has seen the lasers that have been used. There's apparently, I've seen videos of Kasper Schmeichel in goal. Before he was about to save the penalty, there was a green laser pointed at his face, and apparently throughout the whole match yesterday, I don't know whether it was one person or a group of people were pointing lasers at the Denmark players throughout the whole game. And apparently during the game, the 4th official had to go. I don't know whether you saw, actually, there was I think it was towards the end of the game, the 4th official who was wearing blue. I think he was a Romanian official. He was off the field by the technical areas where the managers are, and he walked off towards the stands, towards the UEFA representative or something, and he did sort of an instruction, some sort of instruction like that, and there was a big problem about it. So we might hear a bit about that today. Obviously, it's quite a serious incident, using lasers to distract players. I don't know whether it's, I don't know who it is. I don't know who's been doing it. I imagine there's some England fans that have got lasers in the grounds or something. But that's just an interesting thing. I don't know whether the other lads have seen it or not.
Yeah. Well, I'll come to you, Neil. Obviously, a lot of controversial decisions, a lot of controversial moments as well. Technically, Denmark's goal shouldn't have stood. I think Kane probably should have had a penalty, and then obviously a laser being shone in Kasper Schmeichel's eye. It didn't really affect him that much. He still saved it, but it's a talking point nonetheless. How were you happy with the officiating in the game? Because a lot of fans weren't.
No, I wasn't overly angry about the official. I mean, I must admit I did swear a couple of times, but that's me. I think I've got Tourette's. I didn't think the KANE one was a foul. I think he played his leg. I think he played that quite well. I didn't think that was a foul. The Sterling one was a foul because the ref give it, and that's all I'll say on that one. But if it was given against us, you'd do your fruit, wouldn't you? But the ref give it, and that's it. The laser things, these idiots that do that, I don't know how much difference they ever make, really. You know, what are they trying to prove? I mean, you know, they're not doing anybody any favours. And like Charlie said, Schmeichel saved it anyway. Mind you, I think I'd have saved that. We'll get a slap on the wrist for booing of the anthem because apparently there's something on Sky this morning that's been investigated. The lasers been investigated. What disturbs me more is the booing of the opposition anthems. I think that's just childish, and for God's sake, we've got to move on from that. You know, it's not doing it any fight. It's not doing us any favours on a world stage. And you know, if we want to try and stage a World Cup at some point, which would be great in my lifetime and Stu's lifetime, because the way Charlie pitched us at the start, we probably only got about 6 or 7 years left each, being generations older than Charlie. So I do thank you for that, Charlie. I must admit, I do have a nap about 3 o'clock and a couple of digestive biscuits when I wake up. But I thought the official did okay. You know, it's always hard. It's getting harder and harder to be an official, and he's no mug, that bloke, if he's doing the semi-final.
Yeah, absolutely. I think I did see today that the FA are going to get fined for the laser in the eye. There's some flares in the crowd as well, and maybe the booing of the national anthem, but I didn't read enough into it.
I like the flares, though. Give it the large with the flares. That's pretty good. Yeah,
it creates an atmosphere, doesn't it? But Stu, I'll come to you. Talking about booing the national anthem, obviously, that goes sort of hand in hand with the shining the light in the goalkeeper's eyes. Now, you know, there's a fine line between, you know, disrupting the opposition and disrespecting the opposition. Is it a shame to you that we've probably crossed that line multiple times in this tournament, I think, our home fans?
Clowns. They're just clowns. You know, if I'm at a game, an international game, and somebody's standing to me is booing our national anthem, then we're having words, we're getting into it, because you don't disrespect a nation. You certainly don't disrespect my nation. It's just unacceptable. I don't get it. I don't know why they do it. It's moronic. And it just goes to show sometimes the level of intelligence that exists in people nowadays, or doesn't exist in people nowadays. So for me, it's just I don't get it. I don't like it. It's quite sad, really, especially with what everybody, you know, globally has been through over the last 2 years. And why on earth you would, you know, you think it's tough, it's hard to boo a national anthem is just pathetic, quite frankly. And that's all I want to say on that. With regards to the officiating, I am a bad winner and a bad loser. And by that, I don't really care whether it was a pen or not. We got the pen, and that's it. Stick it away. I mean, crikey, it was a poor pen anyway. But just pop it in the back of the net, and we go home and we win. If I was on the opposition, I'd be absolutely mortified and giving the ref an absolute pounding myself. Fucking what are you doing, etc. But as it's for us, I don't care. Get in. Come on, let's have it. So I don't get into debates on that when we win. To me, it just doesn't matter. I would like to say the level of officiating across the whole tournament, by the way, has probably been the best I've ever experienced watching international football and domestic football. I think it's absolutely been brilliant. I think in terms of the referee's performance last night, it was probably one of the worst. But that's saying something, really. I think I'm nitpicking there. I don't know who the final is. Do we know who the final is? Is that Felix Brick, is it? Has he got the final?
Let me check.
I haven't seen. Just stall for a little bit, Stu. Keep talking.
Yeah,
while
we're gonna need a strong referee in the final. Really, was what I was going to say, because I think the level of shithousery that Italy will put upon us if they get one up will be something I've not seen for a while. So, and I love shithousery, as you guys know, and I think from that point of view, we're going to need a strong referee for Sunday. But no, there was a big debate on Twitter about the pen last night, and to me, I don't care. We won, and that's the main thing. I just so looking forward to Sunday. I can't wait. I've gone back to feeling giddy about football again because I'm so excited, and I just hope we can bring it home Sunday night because I think the country needs it. I think we need it as fans. I think it'd be absolutely great.
Yeah, definitely. I've just had a look. I can't find who the ref is. Maybe
they haven't
announced it yet.
They haven't announced it yet. No, they haven't.
But,
I'll do it.
Yeah, get Neil on it.
No
bias.
Yeah, Verratti, come here. You're off. Why? Your socks too low down. Get off.
I can't stand that when they do the socks down. Greedish with it. Oh, yeah, I've got big calves. Whatever.
Hearing me.
Jesus God.
But quickly to look ahead, obviously we'll talk about this more in a future episode closer to the date. But there's a lot of talk about the team and the starting 11 of England. So I want to come around all of you and sort of ask: is there any changes you'd make going into the Italy game from the 11 that started against Denmark? Because I think that's the team he's going to go with, whether we like it or not. So I'll come to you first, Charlie.
Yeah, I can't see him making many changes, James. But I just don't see how Rice, Phillips and Mount can go up against Jorginho, Barella and Verratti without getting torn to pieces. I just think I just don't see it. I think Declan Rice last night, I said before, I'm very, very critical of Declan Rice. I think he's a decent player. I don't think he's anything special. I think he's a decent footballer. I don't think he's a good player at all. I think he's I'm not going to say he's average. He's not average. He's better than average, but he's not special. And I think Calvin Phillips, me and Neil said yesterday about Calvin Phillips, I think he's a level above Declan Rice. Obviously, he's 3 years older as well. Let's take that into account. But Declan Rice, even last night, he was getting turned easily. And I know we talked about lack of pace before. And, Jorginho, Busquets, Nemanja Matic even still very, very good at what they do. I think Matic should play more. I've said this before for United. Very, very good at still what they do, even though they haven't got legs. And it's been proved in the past you do not need to have legs to be a fantastic footballer. But Declan Rice does get turned very, very easy. And once you're past him, you're past him. He ain't coming back. He just has to sit and screen. If Declan Rice goes, and last night he was at times going in, he was pressing high, and once you're past him, there's no going back. He's just too slow. If Declan Rice is going to play against Italy, he's just got to shield and sit. That's all he has to do, just shield and sit. Because if he goes, he hasn't got the progressiveness, the drive, the pace that Phillips has to get back. So I would go. I mean, he's going to play Rice and Phillips, isn't he? But I think Henderson has to be in there somewhere, and I think Mason Mount still, although he had a poor game yesterday, I still think he should start. So I think I'm going to have to go with Phillips, Henderson, and Mount. We talked about the Italy midfield before with, Verratti being marked out of the game against Spain. Italy have just that midfield three of Italy. No matter who plays for England, that midfield three of Italy is far superior. No matter who plays, in my opinion, I think Jorginho is technically better than any of our midfielders. I'm not so sure about Barella because I haven't seen him that much before this tournament. Barella, I've seen he's a very, very good player, but I'm not convinced he's as technical as Verratti and Jorginho are. And I think Verratti and Jorginho, no matter who plays for England, I think they will dominate the game. So I think no matter who plays, James, I still think we're up against it in terms of the control of the game. I think even against Denmark yesterday, they had far too much control for my liking. I think England didn't control the game enough. They did very well in the last 20 minutes. Fantastic in extra time, the game management, the time wasting. But in terms of the whole control of the game, Delaney and Højbjerg we struggle to control it against them. What are we going to be like against Jorginho, Barella, and Verratti? So I would start Henderson, Phillips, and Mount. I think we need more possession and control in the game. You could spin it the other way and say, well, let's play on the counter. But as Stu said, we've seen the intelligence of Chiellini and Bonucci dropping, and they will drop to prevent the counter. So it's going to be difficult. It really, really is going to be difficult. Jonathan Ball said about Matic should play more. I've said before, the same with Juan Mata as well. Nemanja Matic is such an intelligent footballer. McTominay and Fred will never be the players he was or he is now. Just because he's got a lack of pace doesn't mean he's not good. And next to a better number 6, he would be fantastic. Honestly, he would be fantastic. And he would play much more games if he was at Chelsea, if he was at Manchester City right now. He would play much, much more in a better system under a better manager, in my opinion. So, yeah, there's this sort of... I think we talked, didn't we, about this sort of assumption: if you're old and if you're not fast, you can't play anymore. And I think Thiago Silva, Fernandinho, Busquets have all proved that. Jorginho, even, it's ridiculous. It's absolutely ridiculous. And I think if England do lack that one player, it's that technical man that could control the ball in the midfield. So that's what I'll go for, James. I'll go for that midfield 3. That's what I'll change.
Fair enough. I mean, I sort of agree with you with Rice. I think you can tell he's still a little bit inexperienced and that he needs that positional awareness. I think, especially when we were defending, we'd have 2 solid lines of 4, and then I think Rice would break out and he'd be pressing on the halfway line needlessly. He'd get caught out, and that's where we came unstuck a few times. But there's enough talent there to suggest that he will be a good player. I just think he needs that maturity. But I'll come to you with the same question, Neil. From the team that we saw against Denmark, what changes do you think need to be made?
Same defence. I'd go Rice, like I said before, Rice, Phillips, Henderson, and then the front 3, Kane, Sancho, Sterling, and just go with pace, speed on down the width, down the outside. Sancho and Sterling. Sterling seems to be absolutely on fire, so he's undroppable at the moment. And I'd get Sancho on it. Let's see what all the... to me, I want to see what all the fuss is about. So I'd be quite interested to see Sancho up against Emerson, because as Stuart, and I think it was Stuart said it, or maybe Charlie. Well, it's got to be one of them two said it. Emerson can't defend, can he? So I think we need... that's the system I'd go with. Sort of match them up in midfield. And then just rely on the front 3 to go and do the business, because I don't think it's going to be end-to-end stuff on Sunday.
No, I know what you mean. I think there's the pressure is going to add to that element of closeness. It's not going to be an open game at all. But Stu, just to finish us off on this discussion, are you happy with the team that started the game against Denmark, or do you think a few players need to come in?
Well, no, like the others, I'd bring in Henderson. I'd take out Rice, actually, and I'd bring in Henderson for that. I'd also remove Mount and I'd put in Bellingham, because I just think Bellingham will be more industrious. He's got a really good tackler. He's tall, athletic. He can pick a pass and he can get a goal. So I would bring in Henderson and Bellingham. And I would take out Saka and put in Sancho as well, because it was me, Neil, I will claim it, who questions Emerson's defending. He's very, very good going forward, Emerson. But defensively, I think Sancho can really get at him. And Spinazzola would have been a different kettle of fish, because Spinazzola would have pushed us back. Emerson won't. And I think we can really get at him. The reason I take out Mount is because Jorginho is way, way too clever of a footballer, and he'll eat Mount for breakfast. He knows Mount through his Chelsea days, or through his Chelsea club ties. So I think that would be a dangerous combination, having Mount in there with Jorginho. So I just think Bellingham's got more about him. But we must bring in experience. We must bring in somebody like Henderson, otherwise we're really going to struggle. But I wouldn't disagree with the other lads' formations. I think we're all pretty much there or thereabouts anyway, with one or two changes in personnel. But I think more than anything, I'm so looking forward to it. I can't wait to see us lift the trophy on Sunday.
Me and you both. Well, listen, that's about all the time we've got. So it's mandatory now. I've got to come around to all of you for a score prediction and first goal scorer for the final. So I'll come to you first, Charlie. What are your thoughts?
I cannot predict England to win in 90 minutes. Oh, dear. I think Italy will score first. I think who's going to get the first goal? Verratti will score 1-0. I think England will get back in the game 1-1. I think it'll go to extra time. I think it'll go to penalties. And I think England are going to do it. I think England are going to win on penalties.
Big shout. Very risky shout historically as well. Neil, what are your thoughts?
Got it. I can't. If he goes to penalties, I've got to fancy Italy, to be honest, but I don't believe. We have to score first. I think if Italy score first, they could just shut the game down. They've got that in them. I'm going to go Maguire to score first, and England to win in extra time 2-1.
Good shout. Stuart?
It's going to depend on our ability, I think, to shut down Insigne and Chiesa. I think on the wings.
I saw his dad play Chiesa, you know.
Yeah, me too. Yeah, he's brilliant, wasn't he?
Unbelievable. I saw him up front with Batistuta.
Yeah, I think it's going to be 1-1 full time. I think it's going to go to pens, actually. I think it's going to be one apiece and go to pens.
No, well, I'll be off.
I think it's going to be one each and go to pens.
If it goes to pens, will you come to my funeral?
Yeah.
Is that a formal invite, Neil?
I think
All right.
I think it goes to pens. I'm sorry. I do. I think it's one each and it goes to pens.
This will be my last show if it goes to pens.
The thing is, though, it's no team has ever won 2 penalty shootouts in 1 Euros, and Italy have already won one, so it's our turn to win one now.
Yeah, I can't. I'd love to be here and say, yeah, we're going to win 2-0, but we know. Look, the way the Italians have been playing. Let's be honest. We all know football, and whether you're biased or not, the way the Italians have been playing, conducting themselves throughout this whole tournament. 2-0 is never going to be on the cards. I think we all agree it's going to be extra time. It's a flip of a coin, then, isn't it? Let's be brutally honest. It's a flip of a coin. So I'm going to say 1-1 and pens. We'll do it on pens.
I'm going to be optimistic. It's going to be heart attack central, but I'll go 1-0 and I'll go a late Harry Maguire header to win it for us. Sort of 85th minute onwards, just proper shit house it.
I'd love sure to ping one in the top corner, right at the death.
Oh, that'd be excellent.
I think he's been the best player in the last 2 years, by the way, the best left back in the world.
I mean, I'd take it off your hip. I'd take anything. Take you get off my hip, me ear. I don't give a damn. As long as it goes in, I don't care in this league. I just don't care. But the finals are very, very different. You've got everything on the line in a final, and the game completely changes. It won't be fast paced. Italy will press us, but it won't be end to end stuff. Neil's right. There's no way it'll be end to end stuff at all. It'll be very clinical. This game, very chess like. You've got to. I think if you get space, you've made that space. You're not going to get space easily.
It's going to be a horrible, horrible watch, isn't it?
Oh,
I might be watching Countryfall if it goes to penalties.
It's going to be horrible. It is going to be horrible. I might get pissed before the game, actually.
I'm pissed now.
Well, yeah. I don't know. Fucking hell. Anyway, there you go. Let's see. Come on. Let's fucking have it anyway.
Let's see. Well, 3 days to go. The countdown begins. We're going to have a lot of coverage heading into the game and during the game as well. So stay tuned for that. Nick, Charlie, Neil, Stu, it's been brilliant to have you on. Thank you for joining me. Thank you for providing some brilliant points as well. Thank you to everyone who's joined in as well and contributed in the comments. If you did enjoy the video, be sure to like and subscribe. And as I said, we'll have plenty more content coming for you heading up to the final. But yeah, before we go, it's absolutely coming home. And yeah, we'll see you next time.